love and trust, they don't always, not always. Right.
How are you? Good. Every time I come to a meeting, I shut the thing on silent. Next day, I'm like, my phone hasn't rang. It's Gene. I laughed at that. It was so funny.
And I heard you.
You know what I need to know? Manny's hours. What are Manny's hours?
Monday.
Are you the memoir writer? Are you the memoir writer?
Like literally like 9 to 10.
Really?
Yeah.
Because, what's her name? Christine Stathis, Motivate Physical Therapy is going to move to the village next to the jeweler, which I'm glad about that. It's nice. She's really nice. Really got a nice business going too.
All right, good.
The physical therapist up on across from the next to Artrip's daughter. Hey, can I borrow your tractor? You gonna go away?
Yeah.
I'm gonna borrow your tractor. Oh,
That's all right. What do you need?
I'm just gonna move some leaves and I'm gonna stack them, pile up some leaves and maybe put them in my truck and take them
When do
down.
you want it?
I don't care.
I mean, my son's home, so he can bring it up anytime.
Oh, okay. All
He's
right.
not coming. He's gonna be home.
Oh, okay.
He's gonna be home till he's going away for the
You
weekend.
got a house
for
phone or no?
tournament. House phone?
No, well, so I can call him.
Yeah, I'll give you some.
Oh, okay.
Or just tell me what day. I'll have him drop it off in your driveway.
Anytime.
Have you used it before?
No, but I've driven before.
No, I know that. I'm just
Yeah.
just how to start it. And put it
Yeah,
there and stuff.
yeah.
Um,
It's not a Jubilee, right? It's the regular Ford. It's a little Ford.
it's a little New Holland.
Oh, New Holland Ford.
Good.
Yeah.
Diesel.
All right.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I want to move that. I want to move all my leaves, all my mulch, and everything together. So it looks nice.
just tell me what day you want him.
Okay.
He's got practice
I thought maybe it
on
was the 4th of July parade.
Wednesday.
Maybe Thursday then. Whatever day he's free.
Gene, we good to
Thursday or
go?
Friday.
Write his number down.
Look at him,
Jack.
he's all ready to go.
845-514.
He's got his
Can't,
nice
this
summer
is not
suit
working.
on.
5146.
So go ahead and start, I'll
Okay.
just start my.
All right.
Tell
I
him.
don't know when I
begin?
got going this week, but yeah.
Would you all please rise for the pledge? Thank you.
I'll just bring it up.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jim Kane, the Deputy Mayor. Unfortunately, Mayor Jim Galliano could not make it, but fortunately, he's visiting his father down in Texas. So before we begin our formal agenda, oh, Jean, no, but she has this going. You want me to continue, Jean, or?
Please.
Sure, okay, okay. We're still being recorded. So before we begin, the village wanted to recognize Pastor Tricia Callahan. She's been here for about 10 years, and she's about to leave her congregation as well as her village for places far, far away in Westchester County, right? So in that vein, Mayor Jim Galliano put together a resolution that sums up your wonderful service to our community and the town, the village, as well as our neighboring communities. So after I present the proclamation, if you'd like to get up and say a few words, you're more than welcome. Okay? So let me read the proclamation. So whereas Reverend Patricia Callahan arrived in Cornwall and Hudson, New York 10 years ago, accompanied by her then 4-year-old daughter and 1 cat, when she assumed the helm as pastor of the historic Cornwall Presbyterian Church. It is there where she has dutifully tended to her flock as a faith leader of consequence across the past decade. Integral in the establishment of a much-needed program entitled Backpacks for Food, Pastor Callahan sensed the importance of nourishment for young grade schoolers during the pursuit of their education and oversaw the provision of some 100 weekend meals for Cornwall kids. And whereas Pastor Callahan recognized that helping the least of us should never end at the edge of the town or the village or cease once we reach the designated municipal limits. She was instrumental in initiating an essential relationship with the Newburgh Ministry, a multicultural grassroots organization serving the most basic needs of residents in the city of Newburgh. Part of this effort included supporting community warming stations and contributing to food drives. She spearheaded a special relationship with Rural and Migrant Ministries, a nonprofit organization that has proudly stood with rural and migrant communities throughout New York State since 1981, recently occupying the old Grail property in the village of Cornwall and Hudson. And whereas she has served as a standard bearer and a role model by organizing working partnerships with other local faith leaders in the Methodist, Episcopal, Catholic, Muslim, and Jewish communities, which also included a multi-church youth group, Pastor Callahan also introduced a variety of inspirational music during her Sunday worship, which included Tiaz services. One of her devoted congregants described her as inspiring a high level of vitality, inclusiveness, advocacy, and curiosity within the congregation of the Cornwall Presbyterian Church. A tribute to her leadership, mentorship, and stewardship. Pastor Callahan now moves on to assume the pulpit at Union Church of Pocantico Hills in Tarrytown, New York, leaving behind a congregation and a community that is deeply indebted to her service to both. She departs with a now 15-year-old daughter and 3 cats. She assuredly honored her initial promise of envisioning growing her church's ability to reach out and serve community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the village of Cornwall and Hudson, and on the occasion of her 10 years of dedicated service, I do hereby proclaim today, Monday, July 18th, 2022, Pastor Patricia Callahan Day, James A. Galliano, Mayor. All right, so Pastor, you're more than welcome to come up if you'd like to say a few words. And why don't I hand this to you? Thank you so much for coming, and thank you so much for your service.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this was very gracious and not at all anything I anticipated. As I leave this ministry, I feel, first of all, these items listed all took part with the partnership and the strong leadership of so many others. And the people of this community and the congregation that really made all of this possible. I'm happy to have been a part of it, happy to have been a part of this community that enables such wonderful partnerships between faith communities and civic organizations. And so thank you so much. I really appreciate this.
And the thanks is owed to you. Thank you very, very much. We really appreciate it. We wish you the best of luck. Now, you don't have to stay. As Jim would say, this is dental, what's they call it? Dental operation without any Novocaine. So you're free to leave if you want to, or you could stick around and go through the pain of listening to us.
Thank you very much.
Okay, take care. Thank you very much. Best of luck. Okay, let's move on so now we're open for public comment. Is there anyone who would like to make a comment? You'll have another opportunity at the end of the evening. Okay, seeing none? All right. Let's move on to minutes. So I will make a motion to pass, a resolution to accept the meeting minutes of June 2022. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Rich, you have to abstain. You were not present for that one. So it's the 3 of us.
I'm an aye.
Okay, I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of the special meeting of June 16th, 2022. May I have a second?
Second?
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so that's 3-0. And lastly, I'll make a motion to accept the meeting minutes for the special joint information session that was held on June 23rd, 2022 with the town of Cornwall. Can I get a second on that? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. 4-0, got it, okay. So, moving on to monthly department reports. So, let me just. Okay, I have it right. Oop, hold on. Here we go, okay. So, Village of Cornwall Hudson monthly treasurer's report for June. So June monthly open water balance report, the village was $341,891.53. The town was $259,031.26. We have warrant number 7 in the amount of $379,394.19. I'll make a motion at the end of this report to accept that. With respect to monthly revenue and expenditure reports by fund, the general revenue fund was $3,260,878.61. Expenditures amounted to $1,506,743.01. The water fund revenue amounted to $849,289,289.81. Expenditures were $845,880.66. As for the sewer funds revenue, it was $199,495.35, and expenditures amounted to $20,521.96. So total receipts were $4,309,663.77, which amounts to 54.85% in anticipated revenues, and $2,373,145.63, or 30.21% in anticipated expenditures through the end of June. The balance collected for the sewer capital is $460,808.19 through June 30th, and the amount collected in village taxes and penalties is $2,804,298.61 through June 30th. So, any questions in regards to the treasurer's report? Okay, so I'm going to make a motion to accept warrant number 7 in the amount of $379,394.19. May I get a second, please? Thank you, Dave. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Okay, next one up, we have the building department report. Dave, I think that's you.
Village of Cornwall Hudson Building Department report for June 2022. Building permits issued 8. Certificate of compliance occupancy issued 15. On-site inspections 41. 9 to 5 shift 24. 5 to 10 shift 12. Compliant inspections 5. Violations 0. Stop work orders 0. Municipal searches 9. Solar panels 0. And fire inspections 7. Manny Carmona, Code Enforcement Officer.
Okay, any questions in regards to Manny's report? I know he's not here, unfortunately, but any questions? None? Okay. Well, we move on to the fire company, and that's me. All right, so the June 2022 department report. So with respect to events, there were 2 structure fires, 6 automatic alarms. They responded to 1 motor vehicle accident, 4 medical, 1 mutual aid with the city of Newburgh, 1 good intent, 5 drills, 1 New York State training class, 2 meetings, and 1 public relations detail. So for a total of 24 events, and total volunteer hours was 220 hours to almost 221 hours. The chief notes that engine 411 is back in service from repairs. Captain Trainer and firefighter Charles T. Quinn successfully passed the National Firefighter 2 exam. Firefighter John Ortiz has successfully completed the New York State Firefighter 1 training course. Firefighter Lena Yang and firefighter John Ortiz successfully completed the New York State Rescue Technician Basic Course. July 1st was the deadline to obtain a current firefighter physical. 30 of the 32 active firefighters have met this requirement. Medical clearance is required annually from a department medical provider in order to remain active and able to perform firefighting duties. Firefighting skill proficiency training was conducted during the month of June. Members who have not completed this training as of yet will be given an additional opportunity during the month of August. With respect to the design of the new pumper/tanker is ongoing. It's expected to be completed during early fall of 2022. And lastly, the Storm King Fire Engine Company number 2 annual summer fair will be held July 27th through the 30th. Any questions, anyone? Okay. Mike, was there any, I read off anything in addition that you want to add?
No, I think you're good.
Hey, quick question, and that is, with respect to the New York State Rescue Technician Basic Course, where is that held? Are they all held at the same location, most of this?
Most of it is. Most of it's all out at the Orange County Fire Training Center. Over the last 3 months, we've had people take about 60 not 60 courses, but they've traveled out there 60 times for classes.
Wow. Well,
What's the rescue technician basic course?
Bill could probably answer that better than I can. You teach it, don't you? It teaches you your basic knowledge of rope tying ropes, a little bit of confined space. What else?
It's the prerequisite class for all the other technical rescue courses. The rope rescue classes, the confined space, the trench, the building collapse series, and even now the swiftwater series. So as Chief Trainer was saying, it talks a lot about basic knots, basic rigging, PPE, understanding the different situations that you might find yourself in so you don't become a victim before you're the rescuer, things of that nature. So it's the preliminary course for the members to go on to all the other courses.
so Bill, with respect to these rescue courses, how many total are there about?
In the tech rescue program,
Yeah.
I would say easily 48 to 60.
Wow.
For different situations?
Right.
Like
For
each
those
one is
different disciplines,
specific?
for trench rescue, rope rescue, so there's 4 classes for rope rescue alone. There's 3 or 4 classes for trench rescue. There's multiple classes for water rescue, from paddling to surface rescue to flood rescue to swiftwater rescue. There's the collapse series is probably 8 classes. So there's a breaching concrete, there's heavy lifting, there's tons of different classes available.
Mike, how many, with respect to our personnel, how many, I'm not gonna ask you how many have qualified, because there's so many courses, but do we have some people who have taken a majority of them?
No, we have some that have taken some specialized ones in confined space rescue, some rope rescue stuff. But over the last couple of years, we've seen an influx of new young members, and they're very eager.
Yeah.
That's why you're seeing a lot of them taking the national exams and whatnot, and becoming EMTs and taking these more advanced classes.
That's great.
Mike, how many, we discussed it the other night, how many trips have we made so far out, like 30 trips?
In the last, I forget exactly.
It's closer to 50, and we have well over 500 training hours out there the past quarter.
In the past quarter alone.
Wow.
50 trips?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, we.
Wow. So this is, so it does, I was gonna say, I wanted to make sure in regard to your total volunteer hours, it includes the training class, but is that training down here, or is that training out in the
It's
Orange
both.
County?
It's both. Yeah.
Understood, gotcha. Okay, great.
It's a lot more than we really realize.
No, that's why
Just
I
the
wanna make sure
hours.
that
Just the
that people
hours.
recognize the amount of time that
Yeah, I
they
was
put
shocked
in.
when we were talking about it, I couldn't believe it.
And I would also add that for these members who take these classes, the ongoing training is just as important, because they're not calls that you go to every day.
Right.
So your training is your experience, and you're ready to respond when in fact there is a rollover of the mountain, and the members of Storm King have to secure the vehicle with rigging and extricate the person out of the car. So the ongoing training that those members are probably most likely willing to undergo throughout their career is tenfold to what they've already done.
So do they have to, do they have to be retrained every, 5 years or 10 years in a lot of these technical training courses?
There are some that you
Okay.
have to continue your education on. Now, the proficiency training, that is training that we do in-house to make sure that our firefighters have the basic knowledge to complete the tasks that they may be asked to do. Such as putting on their PPE,
Right.
donning and doffing an SCBA, raising a ladder, stretching hose lines and such.
Great, no, very good news. Okay, moving on. The police department report, Bill?
This is the monthly police report from June 1st through June 30th, 2022. There were 349 total calls for service. There were 2 calls for felony criminal mischief. Under misdemeanors and violations, there was 1 call for fraud, 1 for criminal mischief. No arrests. For vehicle and traffic responses, there was 1 personal injury accident, 6 property damage accidents, 13 traffic summonses issued, 5 traffic warnings issued, 5 parking summonses issued, 6 traffic enforcement posts, and 2 speed or radar sign postings. It was a busy month for non-criminal activity, I would say. There were 9 fire response calls, 4 domestic incidents, 4 alarm response calls, 2 noise complaints, 5 suspicious person calls, 2 suspicious vehicle calls, 5 suspicious activity calls, 12 animal complaints, and 4 disorderly adult calls. The chief was kind enough to break down those animal calls for us when it was only 9. I guess it's 12 now. And it seems like wildlife is more active, right? It wasn't a bunch of escaped dogs or anything like that. It seemed like deer encounters and
Skunk encounter.
yeah. In terms of department assists, they assisted the town of Cornwall PD 14 times, EMS 4 times, 2 other police agencies. They performed 3 welfare checks and assisted 1 citizen. During the month of June 2022, Cornwall and Hudson Police Department held firearms training and certification for all its officers at the Town of New Windsor Police Department Firearms Range in New Windsor. During the month of June, COHPD officer participated in Orange County Stop DWI traffic enforcement grant funding. And during the month of June 2022, COHPD assisted with both traffic and security for the Cornwall Central High School Senior Prom Riverfront Picture-Taking Detail. Respectfully, Chief Stephen E. Dixon. Thank you. Chief, anything else? Did I miss? That's it.
All right. Any questions about Chief's report? All right, moving on. How about the Public Works Department? Rich, please.
All right, Village of Cornwall and Hudson Department of Public Works, June 2022. Trash collected for the month, 128.35 tons. Recycling collected for the month, 34.5 tons. Yard waste collected for the month, 80 yards. Repairs and maintenance, village-owned vehicles and equipment, mowing and trimming of village-owned properties, sweeping of streets, blacktop patching, replaced a sidewalk on Hudson Street from Cumberland Farms to 293 Hudson Street, Idlewild Avenue and 2nd Street, cut to remove trip hazards along sidewalks from Storm King Theater Building to Dock Hill Road, replaced old steel culverts on Taft Place and Bayview Terrace in preparation for paving, milled and paved Hudson Street and Stillman Avenue, restriped parking lots along Hudson Street after paving. Notes: thanks to the Town of Cornwall Highway Department for sweeping during our paving operation. Our sweeper went down the day before paving. I would also like to thank Town of Cornwall, Town of New Windsor, Town of Blooming Grove, and the Village of Woodbury for their assistance with trucking during the milling and paving. Dave Halverson, Superintendent of Public Works.
Okay. Any question about Dave's report? All right, seeing none, why don't we move on to the Water Department? Dave, can you handle that? Thank you.
Monthly, June 2022 monthly report, water. Monthly production daily average, 23,366,000 gallons. Daily average, 778,867 gallons. Samples, we collected 34 samples in accordance with our approved water quality monitoring plan. We collected 2 samples in response to boil water advisories issued following water leak repairs. Annual lead and copper water testing is ongoing. Treatment, Black Rock filtration plant taken offline due to water quality instability. Chlorine chemical feed system at well facility was rebuilt. Replaced pressure reducing valves at well facility. Don Bride and Dan Nye attended laboratory training. Transmission and distribution, 69 utility markouts were completed. Blacktop leak sites, painted fire hydrants, completed pressure regulator station maintenance, repaired water main shut-off valve. Stillman Avenue, repaired curb valve box and shut-off valve. 21 Washington Street and 14 Bar Avenue. Leak repaired by property owners 61 Clinton Street, 34 to 36 Idlewild Avenue. Water shut-off at property owners' request. 16 Yeoman Lane, 241 Hudson Street, 3 Broadway, 49 Clinton Street, 12 Sharon Court, 1 Peter Scott Drive. All water maintenance staff attended Mueller Distribution System training class. Meters, red commercial water meters, Red Village residential meters. 16 final water meter readings were completed. 16 residential water meters were replaced. 3 miscellaneous customer appointments completed. 8 water meter inspections completed. 4 water meter radio transmitters were replaced. Property and maintenance mowed the reservoir dams and began rehab of Maple Avenue Water Department storage facility. Please note, Mike will be on vacation from the 23rd of July to the 31st of July. Michael Trainer, Water Superintendent. Thank you, Mike. Anything else? Good.
How that, in regards to the Maple Ave property, how's that going? Pretty good?
It's coming along. We replaced the roof on it with the help of Dave's, one of his employees. We're replacing some doors. We're getting ready to paint. We refurbished, if you will, the retaining wall that's there. So it's coming along. We should be done probably by the end of this month, I would say.
Excellent. So no surprises then?
No.
Great. Very good.
Just the Black Rock filtration plant was taken offline. Is it back on, or is it?
No, it can go back
asked
on
Bill
if
if
we
he was
so
gonna
choose,
do it.
but we have a couple guys away upstate at school, so we're kind of limited on manpower. So it's a lot easier for day-to-day operations just to take our water from the well.
From the wells. Okay, thank you.
Great. Last of the reports is New Windsor EMS. Bill, would you like to do that, or do you want me to?
You can certainly give your report, and I can give.
Okay, some color to it, right? All right. So I have two reports broken down for June and then just for July. So with respect to June from New Windsor EMS, personnel, this from Michael Biggs, Big. With respect to personnel, no staff on duty injuries or out on injury and illness during the month of June. They hired 7 staff members to assist with the Cornwall coverage. Multiple volunteer applications were received for processing. With respect to operational, they had 287 calls for service, 39 calls in the town of Cornwall, 7 in the village of Cornwall and Hudson. For a total, they had 1,666 calls for the year. No calls for service went uncovered in New Windsor and Cornwall. Mutual aid was denied multiple times to areas such as City of Newburgh and Montgomery. The call volume has remained steady, yet revenue is still lower than average as prior months call volume was lower than the mean. There were no vehicle accidents. All vehicles are up to date on preventive maintenance. Cornwall operations started on July 1st. The new ambulance was placed into service. 2 more are on order and with an uncertain ETA. The annual dinner had to be moved again as it's the same day as the funeral for a member of the service. We're working on developing an FTO and a supervisor program to increase oversight and onboarding of staff, and 2 successful blood drives have been held in the community center. That's for the month of June. I'll add for the month of July, according to Michael, just take a quick look. Okay, so some rough numbers for the month of July. As of this morning, they've responded to 193 calls for service in total. 33 were in the town of Cornwall and 10 were in the village of Cornwall and Hudson. 100% of the calls have been covered in New Windsor, Cornwall, and Hudson, with 94% of the time a unit arriving in under 9 minutes. They've turned down a large number of mutual aid calls to New York City, the city of Newburgh, 3 yesterday alone. The station is coming along well, and I hope to be able to station the day crews there shortly. And I'll have a more detailed report for next month. Bill, do you have anything to add or any color to any of that?
I certainly can. First, a lot of kudos to the town of Cornwall and the highway department for helping everything from getting junk out of the building and starting to make repairs. The air conditioning was repaired, the station's been washed outside, the roof was cleaned, the gutters were cleaned, the station's being painted. So there's a great deal of work that's going on both by some of our people, but a lot of the town of Cornwall highway staff who've been a great help. We are hoping to, as Michael alluded to, we're hoping to be in the station probably within the week to start having people respond out, at least during the daytime. I think you'll see that 9-minute number go down with that, because keep in mind, we're responding from New Windsor into Cornwall. And specifically now with the 32 construction going on, that has created quite the traffic jam into Vales Gate. And so the crews are making their way to 9W, then into Cornwall, either down Union Avenue or down Caesars to get into Cornwall, because the 32 corridor is just impossible to traverse during the day. So I think we'll see as soon as we can get the crews in the station, you're going to see that 9-minute time go down considerably. The mutual aid system is a struggle. We had some issues with Town of Highlands calling us quite a bit as soon as the Cornwall car went into service. And we had to kind of put the message out that we understand mutual aid, but we determine 2 different things: first call mutual aid and second call mutual aid. We don't want to provide as much mutual aid on your first call. You need to cover your first call. If there's a second call in the same time period, we're more able to respond, but our focus right now is on New Windsor and Cornwall. And as in the county, we see it every day, there's this many calls for service and there's this many ambulances. And ambulances are traveling around the county looking for, being sent to calls all over the place. Right now, Cornwall and New Windsor, there's this many calls and there's this many units that are available to respond. So we feel like both communities are in good shape and can be rest assured that, quick response for pre-hospital care is there.
Excellent. Any questions?
I did.
Bill, sure.
I know. Bill, what will be the normal staffing at that building?
It'll typically be either a BLS ambulance, so 2 full-time EMTs or the volunteers, and or an ALS unit, depending on our staffing capacity, because we are still providing the paramedic kind of in conjunction with the previous contract.
Right.
That has now kind of been morphed into the current contract. So, as Michael said, we've looked at, we've brought on 7 paid staff from the COVAC team. We've also onboarded 4 volunteer applications, and we have more that are in the pipeline. So we're hoping that once even we can either have our full-time equivalents staff in the ambulance or start to supplement them with some of the volunteers, or even put a second ambulance on. We have 2 ambulances in the station there available to go. And just talking about the new ambulances on order, the ETA is unknown. Presently, it could be as much as 2 years for an ambulance right now. And the ones that we ordered top of the line, $250,000 each now. So it's quite hard, bitter pill to swallow. We just ordered another ambulance, a van style one, and we ordered that particularly, it's all-wheel drive. We actually ordered it with Cornwall in mind, because we feel like the smaller streets in Cornwall, especially after a snow event, a van ambulance might be a little bit, especially with an all-wheel drive capacity, be able to make the streets a little bit easier for us. So that ambulance, we're hoping that ambulance will be here in October. It was not the one we wanted, but it was the one that became available. So we've ordered it, we've placed the deposit, and we should have it in time for the winter season.
Very good.
How much more work needs to be done to the building?
So we've been concentrating basically on the community room side. So we've scrubbed as much as we can, the bigger room and the kitchen and the restrooms. The dormitory area and the office are basically still need quite a bit of attention. So we're hoping to move our staff into that parking lot side where the community room is in the kitchen, and they can work out of there. The bays are been completely cleaned and power washed. We're working on flooring estimates to get the floors, some better flooring down, some additional painting and some other things like that. But we're confident that we do have to get Central Hudson there because we think there's a gas leak. But we are confident we'll have crews in the building probably within the next 7 days. And we're trying to figure out some type of sleeping arrangements if we in fact kind of cordon off part of that bigger room for some type of dormitory.
Yeah.
All right, very good. Thank you very much, Bill. Thanks for coming. Okay, let's move on to resolutions. So the first one on board here is the appointment of a part-time code enforcement officer. So we've discussed this in previous meetings. So the village has looked into hiring an additional part-time code enforcement officer. Technically, it's a building inspector 3. We had done this about 10 or 12 years ago. If you remember, many of you all sitting over there would remember, like Dave and Mike. We had two building inspectors at one time for a short time, Ben Maggio and Ben Maldonado. Our current building inspector is getting a bit overwhelmed. Joe and I actually spent almost 3 hours with him last week, and he's putting in a lot of time. It's a very busy time right now. We then looked into it and we decided that we needed to hire another building inspector, at least for part-time. And the idea is to have her start off at about 10 hours a week, and then move on from there. We had interviewed, Jim actually, the mayor, had interviewed the candidate. Her name is Kathy Stegenga, and her background, she fits the what we need. Her background, she's got 7.5 years of experience in home improvement and construction. She's currently certified as a New York State Fire Inspector officer and a code enforcement officer. She's also she works for the town of Walk Hill Building Department. She meets the criteria. She's available. She'll be available come September. And we definitely need her services. So that being said, I am going to make a propose a resolution appointing Kathy Stegenga as a part-time building inspector 3 at $25 per hour with a start date no sooner than September 12th, 2022, subject to a 52-week probationary period, and also subject to approval by the Orange County Human Resources Department. May I get a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, just so everyone is aware, Joe, we use the term code enforcement officer when technically speaking in the village, it's a building inspector. We have 2 positions, 2 building inspector 3 positions. Manny occupies 1. This will be filling the other one. So just explaining why you hear us say code enforcement officer or building inspector, we mean building inspector, okay? So we've gotten a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. All right. That's 1 down. Okay. Our next resolution. All right, summer playground appointments. So it's been brought to our attention that we need approval for some additional camp personnel, a sub-health director, a sub-counselor, and 2 sub-counselors. And the reason is depending upon the number of campers that may show up for the day, there's a ratio, and pursuant to that ratio, we may need more counselors, as well as a health director. So that, along with if one of those, if the health director or a counselor is not available. So we need them as extras. So I will make a proposal resolution to appoint Brendan Quinn as a sub-health director, Maya Aurora as a sub-counselor, and Jace Ward as a sub-counselor. The two counselors at the going rate of $14 an hour, and Brendan Quinn as sub-health director at $16 per hour for the summer playground program. May I get a second?
Second?
Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. All right. Now, with respect to the two-stall trailhead compost system installation. We had how many, there were two people that responded to the bid, right, Jean?
It was a request for proposals. We sent it out before we got to.
That's right, it was Spagnoli and as well as Nanini Callahan, right? Okay. So Spagnoli came back as the lowest cost with respect to the Trailhead compost system, and with their lowest bid at $12,500 to excavate and install the compost system, stone bedding, and to include stone bedding and along with topsoil seed and seeding the area. So with that, proposal of resolution to accept the bid as prepared by Spagnoli Excavating and Sons, dated, what's the date on this? Dated 6/7/2022, in the amount of $12,500. May I get a second, please?
Second.
Any discussion? And all in favor?
Do you know when that date for installation is, Dave?
Hold on.
We're waiting for the compost toilet
toilet,
system to be
right?
manufactured and
Yeah.
delivered.
Oh, didn't know that.
Okay. So we got, I call the vote, right?
Yes.
4-0. And just so you know, I know this one, if I remember correctly, just to keep everybody informed, this entire thing is a DASNY grant.
Yes.
It amounts to about $81,000.
The grant is for 50,
Right,
Yeah.
but the cost is in the neighborhood of about 80.
right, because I know the compost toilet system itself, we bought directly from Clivis
Clivis Multrum.
Multrum for like $50,000. Okay, all right. So, very good. Thank you very much for that. Moving on to the Dunya Memorial Park Pavilion bid opening. All right, that. So, I'm going to propose a resolution that, first of all, there was a bid opening, that's right. There was a bid opening for the Dunya Memorial Park Pavilion that was held on July 15th for construction of the pavilion down at Dunya Park. No bids were received. This has happened now twice, right? Not with this. Didn't we have a no bid on another?
On the toilet.
On the toilet system, that's right,
yeah.
okay. So, in any case, we need to bid this out a second time. So, I'm going to make a motion to authorize the village clerk to advertise for bids on the construction of a pavilion at Dunya Memorial Park, again, with a new bid opening date of August 11th, 2022 at 2 p.m. May I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I mean, originally, we had people who wanted to bid that job. I don't understand, I don't know.
The people that were contacted originally, they're not licensed to do business in New York.
Oh,
And when you get grant money, you have.
mostly out of Pennsylvania?
Yeah.
Oh. Wow, that's gonna be a problem.
So we're getting grant money from New York, but we have to use a Pennsylvania contractor?
We have to use a New York contractor and only a Pennsylvania contractor.
Pennsylvania contractors are the ones who build all the pavilions. The Dutch Amish, all those.
Yeah.
They're all,
What was the amount of the
those are the people who build them.
50?
The grant's for 60, but I think that the total cost of the project's about 50.
Okay, gotcha, okay. Did I call the vote? All in favor? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, great. All right. Making progress here, all right, let's see. Okay, the food bank. So, the food bank, as we know, food bank of the Hudson Valley down the street is looking to use our Donahue Memorial Park on Friday, August 12th from 12 to 2 o'clock. 10 to 2 p.m. They're having a picnic. It's their staff appreciation day. So they prepared the application, the special event permit application. All seems to be in order. It looks like they're going to have about 50 participants. So I'll make the motion to accept the food bank's request to hold their staff appreciation day at Donahue Memorial Park on August 12th from 10 to 2 p.m. May I get a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion on that? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Thank you very much. And let's see, Donahue Memorial Park, food bank. Okay, and an additional resolution, in speaking to Dave Halverson during executive session, I'm going to make a motion to authorize Dave Halverson, DPW, Superintendent of DPW, to advertise for a laborer's position. Just advertise. May I get a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye. All right. That takes care of our resolutions. Now let's move on to other business. Bill, why don't you give us an update on the Donahue Farm Property Committee?
There are some updates. The team was unable to have a June meeting. They did reschedule with a lot of scheduling conflicts. They rescheduled for early July, and they had a few people, but not a quorum. But they've completed the community survey, so with north of 300 something responses. There's sort of a consistent story throughout, with the vast majority of people favoring its use as a community garden, and then educational programming and events as the next two things, which the committee is taking that in and putting together recommendations based partly around that. They have so with that in mind, they're kind of looking to understand what would be required for those three things. So they're actually staking out a place where they believe a community garden could be rebuilt. There is one in one spot, but they believe that it should be in another spot. So they're kind of going to put that together as a sort of physical proposal on the land with stakes and things like that for, so that they can then document it and bring it back to the board as part of their plan. And they're starting to outline a recommendations, the plan that we've sort of asked them for. So, which will include mitigation around the barn and shed roof repair, the ice house sill, barn windows. They will be looking to see if they can, do some projects that would involve volunteer work for unskilled labor. And then shorter term, likely to be community garden, keeping the event space behind the barn mowed, and perhaps doing another hiking trail along the Camp Olmsted property line. And then looking forward, the plan would probably include something around structure to accept fundraising and be able to finance more involved projects that might include additional restorations of other buildings and make them, even more sort of bring them to commercial code or things like that if it was deemed desirable. And then also recommendations for permissible and restricted uses. So basically everything we asked for, they're kind of starting to outline. No word from the engineer on the specs. I think they're writing up the specs. Pitangaro and Deutsch are writing up
The roof?
Yeah, for the roof, so that they can handle the bidding process to get contractors in to bid on the roof. I'm not heartened by the Pavilion story, but hopefully we'll get a roof going before another winter. It's
I hope we're
July.
not talking about this, in about 6 months from now.
So yeah, they're going to look at three options: asphalt, metal, and insulated. Says what the committee told me. The insulated option is expected to be expensive, but probably the best way to insulate while still allowing the older roof structure to be visible from inside, so keep the sort of historical visual character inside. Yeah, that's it. Their next meeting is the 26th, Tuesday. I will be in town to attend that one. I was out of town for their scheduled last one, and the one that they rescheduled I couldn't make, but hopefully I'll have a quorum and also just get a real clear sense of who is still interested and wants to be there. People are still attending, but I gather that there's some shifts, and I know we had talked about a certain number of members, and so we might be at that 7 number.
Gotcha.
So,
Thank you very much for the update, Bill. Appreciate it.
my pleasure.
Okay, moving on. So next up are the 2022 fee schedule. So as I mentioned before, Joe and I had a lengthy meeting with Manny, our building inspector, to go over, it was about 9 pages worth of fees, building code enforcement fees. Unless, Gene, you can correct me, but I've been on the board a little over 12 years, and with the exception of maybe some one-offs here and there, we've raised fees, but I don't think these fees have been raised in almost 20 years. Could be even longer. So Joe and I pretty much went line by line with Manny with respect to each one of the fees. And I had a lot of questions for him. Most of the fees he raised. Some fees were decreased. The justifications were good. One is that we haven't raised the fees in probably over 20 years. 2, this is based on his own experience in the village of Spring Valley and the village of Nyack. And most of the fees, they weren't out of bounds in regards to the increase in the fees. So I'm glad that's over with. I can just tell you, I'm confident in the justifications for each one of the fee increases and the decreases. That being said, that's part 1 that's done. Part 2 is Joe and I went over we had some questions for Manny in regards to some of the fees that he's going to get back to us, 1 or 2 of them. More particularly, there were some questions about the forms that he prepared, because we wanted some clarification on some of the forms, and so that takes care of those two things. We're not going to vote on that tonight. Once Manny gets back to us in regards to the outstanding issues, and in fact, Joe, I remember taking a picture of your notes. So I'll get a hold of Manny with respect to that to see if he can answer us. And with respect to those fees, I know it was only a couple of questions.
Well, one in particular, which I haven't had it's really a question for Gene. We're trying to determine when our building code first came into effect.
That's right.
Building code?
Yeah.
In a code book? I honestly don't know.
What's that, Bill?
The Green Book dated in 1984.
Oh, this.
That's the state code.
Yeah.
The state code.
I'm going to assume when we adopted the most recent code book in 77 is when a majority of things would have come over. I don't know.
We're trying not to assume.
Yeah, we're gonna
Probably when you were in college, Joe.
we're
I
trying
have
to
to-
dig
I
into
really have
that.
to look. I
At
don't
some
know.
point, I mean, I know things have changed over the years. So at some point, the village would have adopted its first building code. And in more recent years, the state has crafted the code and has forced the local governments
on the pages.
to adopt the state code. So we know we comply now. That's not the issue.
Right.
The issue is essentially, when did the village of Cornwall and Hudson first start doing building inspections and issuing certificates of occupancy?
Yeah.
And we're trying to back into that question.
It's probably on the page. On the pages, a lot of them have the dates.
On the page of what?
The code
On the code book, I'm looking.
Oh,
pages
yeah,
on it.
yeah.
has the dates on it.
So, yeah, and there's a few other things that he's going to get back to us about, but hopefully we'll be able to just pass those fees next month. I cannot see it going beyond beyond September, as long as we get the answer to, we can
Was there-
figure out.
Was there any effort made to try to, to reconcile our fees with the town book? Because that's probably some of the biggest complaints we get is, oh, well, geez, it's only this much in the town and it's only this much in the village, and back and forth. I don't know, is that something, I mean, I know Manny's using his background to do it, but I mean, are we,
I did not ask him.
I don't know if that's, I
Yeah,
don't
I
wanna
didn't
make
ask
it
him to
more
compare it.
involved than it has to be,
Yeah.
but, I mean,
That's true. I mean,
1983, Joe, in our code book, for a lot of things with respect, local law number 4 of 1983 seems to address most of these building things, all from that same local law.
Well, look, we'll do as much research. I mean, you can look into it, Gene. I mean, I don't want to have to. I was gonna say Manny's he's already overextended. We don't need him spending all of his time looking at,
no.
when it was passed.
well, and I think in all fairness,
Yeah,
those are records that would be here somewhere.
yeah,
We should have someone other than Manny really, confirm what the record is.
right. And Jean's
So-
already overwhelmed, so we don't need her.
She's
help.
fine.
Yeah.
Manny's covering for Uptown.
Yeah. Well, look, I'll talk to Manny and Jean if, I don't know, is it something that maybe Doris can take?
So are
See
you
if-
just looking for that local law, 1983 I'm referring to?
No, we're looking for when the code was, if I had to guess, this could be going back to the 1930s. Could be,
It could, I mean, my experience is that sometime in the 60s, in the 60s, the local towns and villages really started to formalize their codes. So you could have some that are a little older. The real question is, rather than, just have an entire code, there could have been some provision or some policy where inspections were done and certificates of occupancy were issued. I mean, I know there goes, just by way of example, New York City,
is 1934, right? Yeah.
32 or 34, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it's not gonna be that old, but could be 60s, if it was the 80s, I would think the village probably would have had a code before the early 80s, I would think.
And
Yeah.
apologies for missing this key point. Why is this a specific area of concern?
Well, because when people go to sell their home, usually they have to demonstrate to their lender
Got it.
or
Okay.
to the title company that either you have a
Grandfather.
your grandfather, your structure predates the code, and there's no certificate of occupancy on file, or there is. So we're trying to identify the proper timeline, because these things may not exist in the file.
Right, and so
Can be
so we're just trying to be accurate with respect to the predate letter. Because we just want to confirm when the code was in existence, because we want to know if you're gonna, if a letter's gonna be issued, if a certificate of occupancy is not in the file, then typically the building inspector will issue what's known as a predate letter that says, while there's no certificate of occupancy in the file, your residence predates code. So in doing so, we're relying on a particular date, and we just want to make sure we know that date, that year. That's what it comes down to.
Thank you.
Sorry, I should have explained that a little bit better. So we'll do the best we can. Okay, so, and the last thing is, we also talked to, we went over some final nuances to his employment agreement, which I know, Joe, you just sent me today, and hopefully we'll have that passed next month. All right.
And then that will serve as the predicate for the new hire,
Correct.
once all the, so it should
Right.
be very simple the next time.
Yep. All right. Moving on, temporary storage containers. That was put on hold because of our last meeting with Manny with the 3 other subjects. So Joe and I will jump back on the temporary storage containers issue. Who was me, you, and Manny? That's it, right? Okay, yeah. So we'll jump back on that one again, and we'll give you an update. Hoping we can pass this sometime in the fall. That's the best I could give you.
Just don't say what year.
Yeah. All right. The New Windsor, we already did this, the BLS, ALS service update. That's already good.
I can only add.
Oh,
for
go ahead,
the
Bill.
question that I checked my notes, the things that we're looking to do prior to occupying is, dealing with the locks on all the exterior doors. Some of them are broken, some of them are, there's no keys, or the keypad is not functioning, so we're trying to get that squared away. Our hope is eventually to bring over our key fob system from New Windsor to the Cornwall building so that the staff who are all issued key fobs can punch in the same way that they do in New Windsor, so there's no Cornwall number or New Windsor number, it's just the same.
That's what we
We
have.
also like to install some of the cameras that we use in New Windsor just for around the rigs and say the narcotics rooms and things like that.
Makes sense. All right. So moving on to the 4th of July committee update. Dave?
Yeah, well, obviously, 4th of July was very successful. Everyone had a good day. Special thanks to the village and town police departments, obviously the 4th of July committee. The village fire department for helping us with the duck derby. Also, the Highland Engine for their staging during the fireworks, various locations. All the town and village employees who worked that day for the additional security that we all felt was warranted on that day, and I thought everything went well. It was a successful day. I think the crowd was fairly large, maybe not the biggest crowd, but for a Monday, it was a good crowd, and everything went off the way it was supposed to. So, thanks to both the police chiefs too for, it was a long day. People are done, but traffic's still going late into the night. So, we really appreciate everybody's efforts on that day.
Excellent. All right. One of the last 2 items on other business. So I received a report from Jenna Park with respect to the summer playground, and she wanted to provide a camp update. So she advised that they currently have 135 registered campers, and we were able to take 2 campers off the wait list. Our highest attendance was on July 7th with 101 campers. We've gone to the town pool on Mondays and Wednesdays. Our on-site police officer, Officer Thompson, is fantastic. He engages with the campers on a regular basis and is on time, attentive, and observant. She also notes we recently had Brooke Riley, a Cornwall resident of Spectrum News, come over to our camp, and she was able to chat with parents as well. So some past events, they had Sports Day, Jersey Day, Tie-Dye Day, where campers made their own shirts, and Disney Day. Tomorrow is a movie day, and next week is face painting. Some upcoming dates, the Fireman's Fair, July 28th, bowling at Pat Tarcio Lanes on August 2nd. And just please reach out to her with any questions. Jenna Park. Any questions about the summer playground?
The only
Yes.
thing I can say is, my son is a
No,
counselor.
you're too old. You're too old. It's too late. Go ahead.
Ride my way to it. Well, my son's a counselor up at the town, and he has, the first week there, he received a lot of positive feedback, and I'm sure the same thing happened in the village with the police presence from the parents.
Yeah, I'm sure, absolutely.
Just, just a lot of positive feedback about it.
Very good. All right, one last item that just came across our desks today. So New York State has amended their public health law with respect to smoking in public areas. So just to advise village residents, so this no smoking law was signed by Governor Hochul this past Friday. It prohibits smoking in outdoor areas such as public parks, beaches, pools, playgrounds, marinas, and the like. It prohibits smoking on, at, or in equipment, buildings, and facilities located at or in the prohibited outdoor areas. On the other hand, it does allow people to smoke on sidewalks adjacent to public places, pedestrian routes, through any park strip, median, or mall adjacent to vehicular traffic, in parking lots and roadways, in theatrical productions, in any park area not used for park purposes. And Chief, as you already know, the penalty, what is the penalty, Chief? I think it's $50.
There was $50.
$50, yeah. What's interesting is, I shouldn't say this, but what's interesting is this, in looking at the background on this, they keep talking about, they passed this law because of they estimated 4.5 trillion cigarette butts every year picked up, and they have been a leading item found during the International Coastal Cleanup Project. And I never knew this, but cigarette butts are not biodegradable. So they wanted restricted smoking in outdoor areas, understood. What they never mention is smoking anything other than cigarettes. But the law says smoking, it does not discern between smoking cigarettes or smoking marijuana, or smoking meth, or whatever else you're gonna be smoking. So, so we just wanted to advise our village residents of that, and Chief and your police department, I'm sure, will do the right thing. All right.
I did have one question about that. You've read the law. Smoking is permitted in theatrical productions? That seemed like an odd
I just read it. I don't
allowance.
write it.
Yeah.
No, I'm just asking. I just wanted to confirm that you
Yeah,
read
no,
it.
that was, that's, I kind of paused.
Seems like a weird carve out
Left
to me.
in New York
Yeah, it's like, where,
All those other.
it's on the I'm thinking, oh, the minute I saw that, I'm like, okay, a theatrical production down at the park on the waterfront, so what's the,
Part of the actors, yeah. The actors in the production.
I thought of that too.
Really?
I didn't
Could
think of that.
also- It could also be, I was
Oh, I
thinking-
see what you mean, you're saying in the actual,
If it's a play about cigarettes?
yeah.
Oh, I thought it
I
was
didn't
the
even think,
workers setting up
I
the
didn't think,
screen.
yeah, I didn't think of that, so I get it, I understood. Yeah.
That's true.
There was something else odd about it too.
So you can set the screen up, you can smoke when you're blowing the screen up.
Yeah, all right,
It's
well,
interesting, if you were smoking cigars that didn't have a butt, then in theory,
No.
you should really be able to smoke in any of those places.
yeah. All right, and you can also smoke, and the exemption, just in case you go to the Adirondacks or the Catskill Park, you can smoke there. It's an exemption under the conservation law.
It's exempt, but I think that's because they have their own prohibitions on.
Yes, it's exempt
smoke.
from this provision of the public health
Well,
law.
simply because they're vast areas that
who's
contain
gonna find
communities, so it's not a.
Right.
Yeah, they are parks, but not.
All right, so why don't we move on to board comments? Bill, since you're the youngest man on the board, why don't
Am
we
I?
start with you?
It's very rare that I'm the youngest person in a room.
Oh, actually, Rich, I never asked your age. I don't know. But the youngest member, the youngest trustee on the board.
It is funny that at civic engagements, I tend to be the younger person in the room, and at corporate events, I am by far one of the oldest. So that's kind of amusing. I would just say that I too appreciate the employees of the Food Bank of the Hudson Valley, and I'm sad that they will no longer be headquartered in the village at some point in the future. And I heartily approve them having a picnic. And I echo Dave's comments about July 4th. It was a pleasure to march in the parade, and Everything was really well organized. I saw the festivities from a portion of my roof, from the balcony, the fireworks, that is to say, and they looked spectacular. So, thank you.
Excellent.
I tried to say spectacular in the meeting so that you write it in the minutes. Yeah.
I'm writing right now.
Richard,
No, I think that, in marching up, I thought that was one of the largest crowds we've had in a long time for July 4th.
Yeah.
Thank Dave and the committee and, all the volunteers from the police and fire department that were involved. But it was really, when we passed Bridge Street, it was like 6 deep.
Yeah.
So it was impressive to see the crowds and the organization and whatnot. So kudos to all that were involved. Thank you.
Dave?
No, I said mine. I'm good.
I just have a couple of things. One, I have to say, I totally agree. I think it's the largest parade I've ever participated in. So thanks again to the 4th of July committee. We have to actually thank the residents too, the town and village and the town residents. I mean, they made it that popular. It was incredible to march in and see everybody out. Thanks to the police department, fire department, and DPW for everything you guys have done in support of that, and DPW with respect to, I know and the police department with respect to the high school prom night, the pictures and all that, and so that was very good. And lastly, thanks to Pastor Callahan, and good luck to her and her family. Okay. No other board comments, so we'll open up to public comment. Would anyone like to make a comment? Please state your name and your address.
Good evening, Brendan Coyne, 13 Paula Court. Just a couple of additions to items that were on the agenda. First of all, July 4th, I know that our Grand Marshal was very appreciative of being being honored as Grand Marshal. Jeff Armitage certainly deserved the honor. He's served the village in particular very well, and I am very happy that we chose him. Fortunately, the drought ended today at least, but because before the rain came, I decided to put out a few branches of trees. I didn't have any grass to put out this morning, so I wanted something for the DPW guys to pick up. The Fireman's Fair is coming up, as has been mentioned several times. And once again, one of the reasons that Jeff was chosen is the fact that he almost single-handedly does the direction of that, the coordination of that. Certainly, there are a lot of people working with him to pull that off, but it's something that not only the village, but the town and also surrounding communities look forward to. And lastly, I happen to know Tricia Callahan very well, and one of the things that she helped me with when I was mayor was the police task force. She was very helpful in helping me getting some other members on that task force. Some of you will probably remember that Governor Cuomo wanted us to look into our police department, and I turned to Tricia right away, and she was great. So I just wanted to note that. Thank you.
Thank you. I have 2 alibis, which I forgot to mention. So the Bandstand 2022 concert series tomorrow night. I think the band is called the Swing Vipers. That's tomorrow at 6:30. And then music night at Dunya Memorial Park on August 13th. Who is the band, Mike, do you know?
That is to be determined. The band that we had originally scheduled for that night, he has a scheduling conflict, so we're interviewing for a replacement band for that evening.
I thought it was to be determined was the name of the.
One last reminder, next month we're doing as we did this month, we're consolidating the 2 meetings and having in one. So our next meeting is when, Jean? Let me take a look.
15th, August 15th.
Hold on, let's see. Yeah, so it'd be August 15th. Okay? All right, so that concludes our meeting. Yes, oh, I'm sorry, Rick, go right ahead, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize you had a
Okay,
public
Rick
comment.
Giampaolo, 8 Taft
Yeah.
Place. I'd like to make a simple request to the board and the clerk that all references to the Village of Cornwall on Hudson Fire Department, it's something we kind of have to learn. They're our fire department, not any, and the chiefs can explain the difference between the company and Storm King Engine 2, but just something to bring to your attention. They're the fire department. It's listed as the fire company. It's been called 15 other things too.
So it should be fire.
Am I out of place? It's the Storm King, it's the Village of Cornwall
Oh,
on
on the
Hudson Fire
agenda.
Department.
Oh,
On the
okay.
agenda,
All
but
right. Oh,
anywhere else
I
during,
was like, I never called them that. I get you. I see what you're saying.
but
Yeah,
anything else,
understood.
anywhere else during village business, they're actually our fire department.
Gotcha, yeah. All right, no worries.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Okay, I will make a motion to adjourn. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Thank you for attending. Oh, yeah, by the way, guys, vouchers. All right,
You know, I'm leaving tomorrow, so I'll sign right now.
okay.
I should be in Wednesday morning for
That's all
that.
yours, Dave, right?
Yep.